In this video, we're going to go over our animation funnel. We're going to look at our rig, and we're going to see how we can export our assets and even test them inside of Unity. So let's just jump right into it. What we're going to do, we're just going to go ahead and open up Maya. I'll pause the video while it loads. Okay, so we got Maya open. We're going to go ahead and set our project to the unzipped Maya asset files that we've downloaded. And we're going to go ahead and open our scene to our dwarf start pose. Let's not save, and let's just get into it. All right, so we want to make sure that we set our project so all the textures load in. When you're got the ability to animate with textures on a model, you may want to do so because there might be some poses where there might be some weird texture stretching. So, you may not always have textures while you're animating, but it's always a good idea to use them if you do. All right, so we're just going to give a quick little preview of the scene and the rig. Honestly, it's one of the more elegant, simpler rigs we've seen. Uh, you know, rigs can be as complex or as simple as you want to make them. If you're just doing like a top-down, I think this is what this character was made for, like a top-down Diablo game. You don't need, Pixar level or, Iron Man level, Transformer level complexity in your rigs. So this rig will be just fine for the type of animations we're going to make. So why don't we just start with our universal control here. You got your move, rotate, and scale all on one controller. So beware of that. And we'll just work our way bottom up. Of course, we got foot IK. So both legs function the same. If you want to get some foot rolls going on over here in our inspector, we have a foot roll principle. So, you can always edit these by clicking on the name and mouse middle click and drag in our scene view. So that's how we'll control our foot rolls. And of course, we got our knee constraints that control, with a pole vector, control the direction that our knees are facing. We have our hips, which these will probably be mainly mainly do rotations on here, unless this guy you want to just give us some subtle wiggles up and down, or no scale attached to it. All right, and then the hip control above it will control the whole upper body. So this is where you'll do your hip movements for walk cycles. All right, let's keep going up. And then a whole bunch of back controls. So 1, 2, 3. Give you that finer control over the curvature of the spine right there. And we're just going to reset those to 0. Our shoulders, we have let's call this like a rotator cuff or clavicle, I guess is the best way to call it. So really subtle rotations there to help with your pec and clavicle areas. We also have a shoulder control back here that will help if you want. This is more like your shoulder blade or your deltoid. So if you want to raise the arm over the head and stuff like that, that'll help you get that without unnatural stretching. And then, of course, our hand controls, we're only going to be using IK. I don't think there's an IKFK switch on this rig. Like I said, real simple. And even has more basic hand controls. So if we click and drag all of these, we can, quickly make fists that way. So not too many poses for the hand, but not a big deal. Let's take note of the hand over here. Our character will have a melee weapon equipped at all times in his hand. Again, simple rig. It doesn't have any controls on its own. So if you wanted to throw the sword up and then catch it, there's solutions for that. But let's just try to keep some of our stuff simple and just go with this nice little simple parent constraint. And of course, use your finger controls here to grasp onto that sword like so. Maybe that ring needs to come in a little bit more, and that middle finger could use some love. There we go. That looks like a good grip. Perfect. All right. And then all that's left are kind of head controls. So this is our neck. It will bring all of our head controls with it. I guess this is our upper neck. hair controls right here if you want to do some cool wind effects. Here's our jaw control. So you can pull it down or you can rotate it down. Of course, you have to contend with the beard clipping. So that's why we can select all these and curl it however we want to do it. So a lot of secondary action to consider here. Our eye controls, our outer goggle here, controls both eyes. And then if you want to do a Disney World, we can do something like that. And then you can get your jaw and make him go. And then make him kind of crazy though. And of course, you got to take the neck, and then that's when he gets hit. Okay, so we have a character, and I'm going to just do a simple animation to show it's working inside of Unity. So I'm just going to do a quick little hip bob animation. So we're going to be up right there and right there, and then on 10 and 40 we'll be down. So just using my middle mouse click to really do some nice slides. Or wait, is it 30? Let's see. Down, up, down. Okay, that needs to go on 30. And then we'll finish at our start pose on frame 40. Boom, boom, boom. And then, of course, every good hip bob needs a little sass. So I'm going to do this. We're doing that. All right, so we'll go back to our start pose. And on 20 and on 40. On 30, let's see, we go down to the right that way. On frame 30, we'll go down to the left. Give me that hip. And then we'll set our frames to 39 to get to see how the loop looks. All right, I'm gonna have a little, just a teensy amount of fun. I'm gonna give him a little bit of a pose. Let's see. I don't know let's see how well the rig can deform the hands and the forearms and all that stuff. We're gonna have to really grab that elbow control and pop it out some, and maybe rotate this forward some more. Yeah, that's actually pretty good deformation. We got a little bit of, I don't know, I guess clipping there with our, and then he's just gonna have his sword like. Okay, that's disturbing, and of course, we're gonna head bob. All right, so 1, and then 20, and then let's set that to 40, so I can get that last. Oh, not 400, 40, so I get that last frame there, and then 30. If his hips down there, then we'll mirror, and then we'll come down here. All right, let's see what happens. It's so stupid. All right, cool. So that's our animation. And you saw how we were kind of using the rig. The arm is not very good. Let's do something like this. There we go. All right, cool. And what we want to do now is export it for use in a game engine. So what we're going to do is we're going to just select the hero dwarf, and hopefully any rigs you get will be nice and packaged like this. When I select the root character dwarf here, let's zoom in. Then you can see all this other stuff that goes with it, everything from the mesh to the sword to the control curves to the bones themselves. So that's nice and packaged that way. But what we need to do is we need to just pare this down to just the mesh and the bones of the animation simulated onto the bones. Right now, all of our keyframes are on the control curves. When we bake this animation, when we export it, every frame, every bone is going to get its own keyframe So it'll know exactly where to move without the controls being needed. Because we don't want to bring that stuff into a game engine, just the bones and the mesh. All right, so Maya has a really nice tool now called the Game Exporter. Previously, you kind of either had your own scripts or just had to do it by hand to clean up the rigs with your control curves and all that. But Maya has this new tool that works well with Unity. So we'll go to Game Exporter, and why don't we look at some of these settings. All right, we'll go to Animation Clips, and the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to export our selection. All right, and we're going to give ourselves a clip name. We'll call this Dance, and we'll do it 1 to 40. Actually, let's do 1 to 39, and that'll make the loop a little bit easier, a little bit smoother. Save the multiple clips. Binary 2018. If you had multiple clips and the same timeline, you would break them up down here. So you would do like jump, and then jump would start at like 41. Theoretically, I haven't done a jump to like 60. So you could break down all your clips like this, and then Maya will even export each clip as its own FBX, kind of like how Unity likes. That way we can just get our clips nice and imported in there. All right, so I'm going to take that off. I don't have a jump. Move to origin. Hopefully your mesh is already in the origin point. But it might be you're animating a cut scene, and it might just you need them to be in the scene, but you may want to move them to origin and then place them in the scene inside the game engine. So that's what that could be used for. For the most part, embed media, I think that's for textures. Let's take that off. We don't want that. For the most part, we just want to bake the animation, set up our clip name, and export selection. Okay. Just set that to 0. All right, and then multiple clip files. You only have one anyway, but I'll just keep that the way it is. All right, let's try it out. So I'm going to set where I want to put it. I'm just going to choose my desktop, and I'm going to give this a prefix. So what I'm going to do is call this dwarf underscore, and then if it's a clip name, it'll save it as dwarf underscore dance, and if I had that jump, it'd be dwarf underscore jump. You get it. So let's hit the export button. And what do we get? We get a nice little FBX called Dwarf Dance. So I'm going to take this time now and open up a Unity project so we can double check to make sure our animations came through. I'm going to pause the video while I get Unity open. And just like that, Unity appears before our eyes. All right, so I'm not going to do much here. This is just a prototype test scene, and I would recommend doing this before you submit your FBXs. I'm going to drag and drop my FBX just into the asset window. And we're going to set up a quick animator controller and all that good stuff. So before I get going with it, I'm going to go to right click in this open asset window area. We're going to create an animator controller. All right, and we're going to call this Dwarf. This is basically like the save file for our Mechanim node-based animator window. So this is kind of like it. All right, great. So why don't we just go ahead and slide our dwarf straight into our hierarchy. You get to put it at our origin. You can already see he's really just posing them out. We don't have textures. We don't need them. We're just trying to get these clips going. All right, if we look at our dwarf, he was imported with an animator, but he doesn't have a controller attached. That's why we do this. We drag and drop our dwarf controller we just made right there. And then we will double click into our animator window right here. And you'll see that there's no clips to play right now. So we're going to go in and expand our dwarf down here in our asset window. So you see how you can just expand them. So that's our mesh, our materials, all that stuff. And we're just going to drag and drop this dance clip in to Mechanim. And there we go. And we want to make sure this clip loops. So what we do is we'll just single click dance. No, this is how we control our speed. If we want to control the loop, we will go, if we want to do the loop controls, we will double click it, which will take us to our import settings of the dwarf itself and go straight to the animation tab here. And then where it says loop time, we can check that, and everything else can be pretty good right now. And let's apply those changes. Perfect. Now we should have the dwarf Let me put my animator window right here so we can see what's going on. Hopefully when we press play, oh, that's real good. Man, they did a good job animating this, I think. All right, we'll just bring the camera in a little bit. I can't help but do something a little dramatic. All right, let's see what's happening. All right, well, that's my animation, huh? All right, great. So that's exactly what your programmers or whoever's designing the character controller want to see. They want to see just a rig uh, or an FBX that has this clip here so they can make use of it and just plug it into an animation or an animator controller like this. And then there'll be a big spider web of these clips that they'll transition between, and everybody's happy. All right. Thank you.